Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we've got a stack of case files that, honestly, they read more like a completely implausible thriller novel than any kind of professional report on insurance fraud.
Oh, absolutely.
We're basically charting a course from, the manicured, spite-fueled lawns of Montecito all the way to ancient Egyptian tunnels hiding right under London. We're tracking a crime ring whose ambition really far outstripped their actual competence.
That's a perfect way to put it. Now, our focus today is the truly extraordinary work of one investigator, Gabriela Rose. Her business card it's almost comically simple. Just says insurance fraud investigator.
That's it.
That's it. But that little card, it hides this almost legendary reputation for achieving the impossible.
Yeah.
She's the industry's last resort. I mean, when law enforcement gives up, when all the paperwork is filed and the insurance company's ready to just write it off as a total loss, that's when they call Gabriela Rose.
And she finds things.
She finds things. Whether they're buried or hidden or smuggled halfway across the globe, she gets them back.
And what makes this deep dive so compelling is the immediate, just breathtaking escalation of the stakes. I mean, we start with what you might call a relatively small-scale theft.
Relatively, yeah.
$13 million in missing jewelry, which, okay, is a huge loss for anyone. But then within, 48 hours, she's suddenly dealing with this massive multi-continent operation involving artifacts valued at nearly $2 billion.
It's an incredible shift. It just explodes from this personal vendetta into a full-blown global cultural property crisis.
So our mission today is to unpack not just what happened, but how. How did she manage to navigate this criminal landscape? Which, by the way, features everything from, like you said, spiteful ex-husbands to a ruthless network of Harvard-educated sociopaths.
The sources just call them the kings.
The kings. We need to analyze her methods, the stunning technical skills she has, and I have to say, the often hilarious absurdity that just seems to follow every single one of these recoveries.
It's a key theme.
Okay, let's unpack this opening act. It's really foundational to understanding how she works. We're calling this Part 1, Case File 1, The Capstone and the Capricious Peacock.
And like so many big money disputes, it all starts with an incredibly ugly divorce.
Of course it does.
We've got two people, Rawlings and Olga, splitting up their very substantial assets. And the settlement was, let's say, contentious. Rawlings got to keep the crown jewel, which was this sprawling Montecito estate.
But Olga didn't do too badly.
No, not at all. She was compensated very handsomely. She got the Aspen ski house, the Malibu beach house, and the Bentley, a huge payout. But Rawlings wasn't quite finished inflicting pain.
And that's where the fraud claim comes in. $13 million worth of Olga's personal jewelry just vanishes. Right before she's supposed to collect her final things and leave Montecito for good.
Right. Rawlings claims it was stolen, masked bandits, the whole story. The insurance company, of course, suspects it's a setup. So they call in Gabriela. She's on the scene, on the clock, probably sipping a glass of warm, expensive champagne the staff gave her, just observing.
And this is where you see her unique approach right away. She doesn't start with, fingerprints or forensics.
No, she understands people. And more specifically, she understands the consuming nature of pure personal spite. Her big break didn't come from a police file. It came from an unnamed, very informal source.
A source who'd had a bit too much to drink.
A bit, yes. The file specifically says too many shots of Don Julio. And at that point, this person revealed the truth.
And the truth was just so petty and perfect. Rawlings wasn't looking for profit. He was looking for revenge. He told his friend that Olga might have gotten the houses and the cars, but, and this is a quote, he'd go to his grave before she got her hands on her jewelry.
So the big question is, where does a man of immense wealth hide a multi-million-dollar collection despite his ex-wife?
Not in a Swiss vault.
No. In the last place anyone would ever think to check on a hyper-modernized estate. The old, disused well out on the property grounds.
A well.
A well. And this detail, this contrast between the high-value item and the incredibly mundane hiding spot is a theme you'll see over and over. And the best part, the jewelry was secured in a simple plastic Ziploc gallon freezer bag.
That is fantastic. $13 million in a Ziploc bag. It speaks volumes about the disconnect between the emotional driver, this intense spite, and the actual, operational planning.
It really does. And the retrieval operation itself was highly tactical. It really showcases Gabriela's hands-on skills. She and her accomplice, a guy named Louis, they execute the recovery at night.
And Louis had done some prep work.
He was clever. He'd talked his way onto the grounds earlier, pretending to be part of gardening crew, and he left a little cache of tools near a cottage, some rope, rubber boots, a pry bar, and a couple of lengths of PVC pipe.
So the plan seems simple, but the challenges were actually pretty big, right? They had to first get into this well.
Yeah. Immense challenges. First, they had to pry off the well's capstone. This thing is described as a massive, circular piece of stone, probably weighing around 200 pounds, just to get access. And then, Gabriela had to go down.
She went down into the well herself.
She rappelled down the inner shaft. The notes are very specific. The well was only 3 feet wide, a very tight squeeze, and somewhere between 30 and 40 feet deep.
Wow.
It was stone-lined and just covered in slime. One slip could have been disastrous. And this is the point that just gets me, the absurdity of her attire. She does this incredibly dangerous tactical insertion wearing a $2,000 dress.
Why? I mean, if she has tactical training, why not just wear standard gear? Is it arrogance or part of the cover?
The sources suggest it's a bit of both, but mostly it was about speed and blending in. She'd been doing surveillance earlier that night, with the champagne, and she had to move on the information immediately.
Mission first.
Exactly. The mission comes before comfort or, safety precautions like gloves. So she gets to the bottom, lands in about 2 inches of water and soft muck. And there it is, the Ziploc bag, right where the informant said it would be.
So she grabs the jewelry, all $13 million of it, and just tucks the bag into her tights for safekeeping. It's such a practical action hero kind of move.
It is. When she's back on solid ground, Lewis asks her if she was a Marine commando in a previous life, given how effortlessly she did it.
Yeah.
And her response is just wonderfully understated. She just says, I've had some tactical training. Comes in handy.
But the smooth part of the operation is over.
Oh, it takes a very hard turn toward chaos right after that. They leave the capstone off, which was a strategic move so the police would immediately know how the entry was made, and they start moving across the lawn back toward the cottage lights.
And the lawn changes.
It does. It goes from this, pristine fairway to this thick, unruly high grass near a hedgerow. And that's where the highly trained investigator meets feathered, furious anarchy.
Louis trips over something.
He does, and it lets out this ungodly shriek. A large, very aggressive winged creature immediately attacks him. Gabriela rushes over to help, and the creature, which she immediately identifies as a peacock, turns its rage on her.
And it was a brutal attack, right?
The notes are very clear. The bird is screaming, it's slashing her expensive dress to ribbons with its talons, and it's pecking aggressively at her Birkin bag.
So Luis, trying to be helpful, shouts what?
He shouts, "Stand back and I'll shoot it." And Gabriela, in the middle of being physically assaulted by this bird, somehow has the composure to yell back, "It's a peacock. You can't shoot a peacock."
We just can't.
Apparently not. The source explains that it was peacock egg-laying season, which makes them incredibly territorial and vicious. So the casualty count from this successful recovery is just amazing. 1 shredded dress, probably some cuts and bruises, and 1 missing high-end shoe.
The peacock takes her shoe.
The peacock, having clearly won the battle, retreated with one of her Louboutin slingbacks.
I just have this image of her standing there. She's got on rubber boots, 1 single heel, $13 million tucked in her tights, and this peacock is just strutting off with the other Louboutin.
Yeah.
It's the perfect summary of the kind of ridiculous obstacles she deals with.
It really is. High-stakes professionalism meets comical, completely unexpected setbacks. It sets the tone for everything that follows.
And we have to pivot pretty dramatically here because the stakes immediately jump from, a spiteful divorce to potential global economic disaster. This brings us to part 2. Case file 2, the antiquities heist and the boyish banker.
Gabrielle has barely had time to even assess the damage to her wardrobe. She gets back to New York, and she's looking forward to just a moment of peace, a long shower, clean sheets, maybe dealing with her injuries. And her longtime associate, Rafer, bursts in with the next crisis. Harley. He's an immediate personality study. Described as boyishly cute, freckled, with an adorable nose. Rafer kind of summarizes the whole dynamic between the three of them perfectly. Rafer is kick-ass, Gabrielle is lethal, and Harley is kiss-ass.
A schmoozer.
A total schmoozer, a good negotiator, great at business lunches, that kind of thing.
And he's now the president of a major bank, Searle & Junket, but only by accident, really.
Total accident. His predecessor was recently assassinated, gunned down by a man in a black hoodie wearing a rubber Halloween Chucky mask, which right away should tell you something about the chaos this bank was caught up in.
So Harley gets the top job because he's a people pleaser.
Exactly. He lacked the financial expertise of his peers, but he was a master politician inside the bank.
Yeah.
And his reward. He was immediately assigned this terrible portfolio, overseeing the bank's brand new antiquity insurance department.
And that's where the disaster really starts. Harley admits to Gabriela that he was, quote, a moron. The bank had absolutely no business insuring these kinds of assets. They just didn't have the capital to cover a catastrophic loss.
But the board members, who were very powerful, they insisted. They were driven by what they called unequaled prestige. It was an ego thing, the bragging rights of being the bank that insures the Louvre's collection.
But they completely underestimated the risk.
Vastly. They convinced themselves that the chance of, say, the Rosetta Stone being stolen was basically zero. So they wrote these massive policies covering billions, just assuming that the security at places like the British Museum and the Musée d'Orsay was, unbreakable.
They were wrong.
They were disastrously wrong.
And we have to just underline the staggering scale of the loss here. This all happened in a really concentrated 4-week period. And the list of stolen items, it reads like humanity's greatest hits.
It is absolutely unbelievable. First, 2 Van Goghs disappear from the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. That's a $500 million loss right there.
Oh.
Then the Rosetta Stone vanishes from the British Museum. Insured value, $750 million. And finally, King Tut's brother's inner coffin, the golden coffin, valued at $475 million. The total loss exposure for the bank is something like $1.75 billion.
And there's this one detail that just solidifies Harley's complete lack of professional judgment and just the board's absurdity. He confesses that they intentionally marketed the coffin as a sarcophagus on the policy.
Yes, because a $475 million coffin sounded ridiculous and overinflated to the board. Harley joked about it. He said, you can buy a high-end casket at Costco for a few $1,000s.
But a sarcophagus.
But a sarcophagus. That sounds culturally important.
Yeah.
That sounds like something worth insuring. That simple word change allowed them to push the policy through. It just shows this fundamental disconnect from reality.
So what happens to Harley is predictable. He's immediately put on administrative leave.
Of course. He realizes he's being set up to be the fall guy, the cute, naive president who approved all the bad policies. The powerful board members naturally made sure there was no paper trail linking them to any of it.
So Harley runs.
He flees to Rafer's dive shop in St. Vincent to hide out. He knows he's in deep. He's the one who, quote, insured the golden coffin.
So Gabriela is now tasked with recovering artifacts whose insured value could probably float the GDP of a small nation. And she starts with the heaviest, most iconic, and seemingly most impossible to steal, the Rosetta Stone.
Which takes us right into part 3, tracing the heist mechanics of the Rosetta Stone.
Yeah.
And you're right, this thing is 3/4 of a ton of black granite. Moving it requires specialized equipment, manpower, and absolute systemic failure.
And this is where Gabriela's ability to analyze both the technical security and the human element really shines. The museum had, the latest and greatest security impact glass protecting the stone.
Right. And the bank's experts confirmed early on, while everyone was still confused, that the museum was displaying a lightweight fake during the investigation. So the real stone was definitely gone.
Gabriela immediately focuses on the timeline. The theft happened in, just 20 or 25 minutes? Between the security systems shutting down and the guards finding it gone.
Incredibly tight window.
Yeah.
And she immediately confirms this ruthless pattern of elimination among the people who would have enabled an operation that fast and that risky.
The Kings were cleaning house.
Swiftly and brutally, we see 2 key eliminations in their London network. First, the lead museum IT guy. This is critical, because his access would be the only way to hack the security system. He was found washed up on the Thames 2 weeks before the theft was even widely known.
Bullet hole.
Bullet hole. The police initially just dismissed it as, like, a gang-related drowning.
But Gabriela immediately suspected it was an inside job, a security hack. And this is where we get that crucial nugget of information that shows her deductive brilliance, not just at the end, but right from the start.
Exactly. She discovered the IT guy had tried to send a final, cryptic warning before he was killed. He'd embedded a coded message into the subject line of a spam email that was sent to an internal bank address.
Aimed at Harley.
It was aimed right at Harley, but Harley totally missed it. The code read BMEA 24, and Gabriela translated it. British Museum, Egyptian Antiquities, Room 4. It told her exactly where to start looking.
That is incredible. A warning hidden in a spam email subject line. And the second elimination.
John Mackey, a 64-year-old museum security guard. He was shot dead 2 days after the theft. It was quickly labeled a robbery because his wallet and cell phone were missing.
But Gabriela saw it for what it
A
was.
professional execution,
Uh.
eliminating the loose end. He was likely the man tasked with securing the stone after it was moved.
This pattern leads her to suspect a man named Ahmed El Gaili, a figure the police had kind of dismissed as being too high profile.
Right. He's rumored to be a former Special Forces colonel and a covert agent for the GDSSI, the Egyptian General Directorate of State Security Investigations. And to understand the threat he poses, you have to know that the GDSSI operates at the highest levels of international intelligence. They are capable of sophisticated, deniable operations.
So Ahmed isn't some common thug. He's a deadly professional who apparently moonlights for incredible profit.
And his profile confirms it. He drives a Porsche 911 Sport Classic Limited Edition, a car worth well into six figures, and he splits his time between a wealthy London flat and a residence in Cairo. She knows he's involved, but she can't just call him up.
So she uses this oblique method. A contact tells her that if she wants to reach Ahmed, she needs to leave a note for someone named Buzz at the Egyptian embassy.
Right, at the reception desk. So she does it, endures these stares from a couple of unhelpful men, and sure enough, Ahmed contacts her. He arranges this very brief, very wary meeting at Harrods.
And the meeting is tense.
Very tense. Ahmed is cryptic. He offers no real information, but Gabriela gets what she needs. She confirms his involvement, gets a sense of his age, and a feel for his ruthless efficiency. She leaves knowing she can't trust him, but now she has him in her sights.
So armed with the IT guy's coded message, BMEA24, she goes straight to room 4, the Egyptian Sculpture Gallery.
And she's pacing the area, analyzing the physical space, not just looking at security logs. Her breakthrough comes when she notices an HVAC grate at the far end of the gallery, right near where the stone used to be displayed.
Pure deduction.
Pure deduction. She gets permission to look at it under some flimsy pretext and prise it up. She estimates the Rosetta Stone would have had only about 6 inches of clearance to be lowered through that shaft.
Then she goes down again.
She goes down again, employs her tactical training, rappels down these corroded metal rungs. Again, no gloves, so her hands are torn and bleeding, and drops into the darkness.
And what does she find?
The shaft opens up into a defunct underground rail system tunnel. It's massive, high enough and wide enough for 2 trains. This is the crucial link. The Kings used obsolete city infrastructure that no one in modern security had even thought to account for.
And following the tunnel.
Following the curve of the tunnel, the scene gets pretty grim. She finds a badly decomposed body, a very large man wearing a black hoodie and Nike shoes. He'd been left there since the robbery.
Bullet holes in his face.
Yep. This was the discarded muscle, the hired heavy lifter who was eliminated the second his job was done.
And the evidence down there tells the story of how they moved it.
Exactly. Near the body, she finds a 4-wheeled dolly, the kind you use for heavy objects, thick nylon rope, and the remnants of a simple, heavy-duty pulley system. It confirms the sheer physical effort it took to lift and transport that 3/4-ton stone.
And the exit.
They moved the stone along the rails on the dolly to this crude offshoot tunnel. That offshoot connected, via an even longer shaft, to a trapdoor in the storeroom of a takeout noodle shop near the Holborn tube station.
A noodle shop. That's the perfect urban camouflage. The Rosetta Stone was wheeled through a tunnel and smuggled out the back of a busy London takeout spot.
It's genius. So when she has the exit point, she shifts her focus back to the only known associate who's still in play, in a sense. John Mackey, the murdered security guard in Brixton. She figures the stone was probably held locally before being shipped out.
She tracks down his garage in Brixton, and she's using her lockpicks.
And Rafer, who's still on the phone with her, asks if she has nunchucks and flashbangs in her bag too. And she just says, "You forgot the lip gloss. I'm never without lip gloss." High efficiency, high style.
And inside?
Inside garage number 3, wrapped in blankets in the bed of this ancient Citroen truck, is a Rosetta Stone.
So Mackey was supposed to hold it.
It seems so. But the Kings, proving how sloppy they are, must have learned he was planning to betray them or maybe sell it himself. So they killed him, but they left the asset behind.
And the recovery immediately turns into a spectacular, high-octane chase scene.
Oh, it does. Gabriela notes the key is still in the ignition. And just as she confirms the stone is real, 4 men burst through the garage doors, ready to take it back.
So she reacts instantly.
Instantly. Slams the truck into reverse, crashes out of the garage and into the alleyway, and now you have a 3/4-ton granite block being driven at high speed through London with henchmen in close pursuit.
The sources say she used extreme measures during the chase.
She did. She knifed one of the gunmen who tried to block her exit, again, demonstrating that tactical training. And when another car tries to box her in, She just rams it, creates space, and then this is spectacular. She jumps a curb, drives onto the sidewalk, and makes this direct illegal shortcut straight for the British Museum's secure delivery entrance.
And she might have run over a leg.
The sources say she might have rolled over a leg or two of one of her pursuers during that maneuver. It's that kind of aggressive, decisive action that just sets her apart. The recovery of the asset comes first. Traffic laws are secondary.
She gets the Citroen with this massive stone under some blankets right inside the secure gates of the British Museum. The director's just beside himself with relief, confirms it's the real deal. The Rosetta Stone is secured.
But the personal cost is immediately clear. As Gabriela takes a second to just breathe and check her surroundings, she finds confirmation of the intense surveillance she's been under.
An AirTag?
An AirTag, planted in her messenger bag. She immediately suspects Ahmed, dating it back to their brief, tense meeting at Harrods. And it's such a crucial detail because it shows that even these world-class criminals are relying on, accessible, cheap consumer tech for tracking.
A modern tool for an ancient profession.
Exactly. She drops the device into a public trash can, but the message is received loud and clear. She's now a key target, and this game has escalated way beyond a simple theft recovery.
And that game involves much deeper institutional corruption. Which brings us to part 4, the golden coffin and the king's conspiracy. We have to move past the expendable guys and look at the financial engine that's driving all this chaos.
We have to. Gabriela's analysis confirms the central motive here isn't simple profit from selling stolen goods. It's a very sophisticated, murderous form of corporate raiding.
It all traces back to 3 men who are all smiling in a formal Harvard lacrosse team photo. Theodore Searle Teddy Harry Bench and Rocky Masood.
And their motive is deeply, complexly financial. Harry Bench's goal was to bankrupt Searle and Junket, the bank where Harley was president.
Why?
Because Bench had heavily invested in Theodore's father's company, Beckett Searle Investment. So if Searle and Junket failed, Beckett Searle could just buy it out for pennies on the dollar, forming this new, hugely profitable, combined entity.
And Bench and Teddy would get rich.
Massively rich.
Yeah.
Bench reaps a huge gain from the stock appreciation, and Teddy, the son, gets positioned to take over the new megabank. The multi-billion-dollar thefts were all calculated to collapse the insurance arm of Searle and Junket, guaranteeing the bank's failure.
So this reveals the Kings aren't just opportunistic thieves. They're white-collar financial criminals using systematic theft and murder to manipulate the stock market.
And then the stakes get raised again, beyond finance, when Ahmed El Ghali, who is still tracking Gabriela, decides to force her hand. He kidnaps Harley from his Cairo hotel room, bypassing high-level security with ease.
Ahmed puts Gabriela on the phone with Harley to deliver his ransom demand. He doesn't want money.
No, he wants the golden coffin. And to make sure she complies, he threatens Gabriela's most vulnerable point, her mother, back home in Scoon, South Carolina.
This changes everything.
It does. Gabriela realizes that despite Ahmed being this ruthless agent, Harley is ironically safer with him than he would be if he were exposed to the Kings. Because the Kings now think she has the coffin, and they will stop at nothing to get it back or to eliminate her.
So Gabriela shifts her focus to how the coffin disappeared. She realizes the theft wasn't a simple hijacking in transit. It was a precision switch. The real coffin was replaced with a fake one after it was loaded onto the cargo plane in New York.
And the crucial operational link, Masood Freight Forwarding.
Rocky Masood's family business.
It's a privately owned family business, which is the perfect cover of respectability. It lets the Kings control the whole logistics chain. The company is run by Rocky's family, and his cousin, Horace Fusef, everyone calls him Foos, was conveniently employed there, handling the specific cargo manifest details.
So Gabriela and Rafer uncover the mechanics of the switch, and it all focuses on this unusual, specially constructed crate.
It was enormous, 75 inches long, 30 inches wide, 60 inches high. On paper, it was for excavation supplies going to a dig site in the East Desert.
But it was designed with a false bottom.
A false bottom, perfectly sized to hold the coffin. The assistant at the dig site, a man named Dodi Kabi, he received the crate, dutifully unpacked the trowels and brushes from the top section, and then, just as he was instructed, he disposed of the massive, unique crate.
And Kabi's fate, tragically, follows that now familiar pattern.
He was killed in a suspicious motorbike accident shortly after being visited by Foos, the cousin, which is the direct link connecting the freight operation back to the King's murderous plot. The pattern is crystal clear. Use an associate that immediately execute them.
So now, Gabriela tracks Teddy Searle and his father to Salpan, Florida. She's determined to find the stolen art, or the coffin. She infiltrates Beckett Searle's mansion, which is described as this ridiculously opulent Versailles-like estate.
17,000 square feet, 18 bathrooms.
She goes undercover with Rafer as Mayfair Pest Control, and they actually manage to snoop through the elder Searle's office. They find Viagra and a picture of his huge yacht, but nothing related to the coffin. The search is a bust.
But Teddy is alerted to their presence. Gabriela gets cornered in a parking garage. She's stunned, literally hit with a stun gun and captured. Bench and Teddy take her to this remote, dilapidated rural safe house for interrogation.
And this is a brutal climax in the investigation. They tie her up, they torture her with stun guns to find the coffin. Bench's hired thug carves an X into her arm, symbolizing the cross they plan to nail her to. The cruelty is just shocking. It proves these white-collar guys are deeply, deeply violent.
But in the middle of all this torture, Bench reveals the ultimate crushing failure of their entire scheme. He says, as difficult as this is to admit, we do not have the coffin.
All the murder, all the theft, for nothing. They failed to get the one piece they risked everything for.
The interrogation gets interrupted by Rafer. He'd followed Teddy to the remote ranch house. He tries a cautious rescue through a boarded-up window. Gabriela, calculating the risk, tells him to wait until she screams.
And when Bench threatens her again?
She gets hit with another shock.
Yeah.
And that's Rafer's cue. He bursts in, finds her bound to a folding chair, and is desperately cutting her free, just as the 250-gallon propane tank hooked up to the house explodes.
Ignited by the henchmen during the struggle.
The first word Gabriela manages to choke out is Vesuvius. Rafer drags her, bleeding and stunned, out of the inferno and into his Porsche, barely escaping as the structure collapses. She's alive, she has a new scar, but now she knows for certain that the Kings failed to get their biggest prize.
And the Kings, who think they just successfully eliminated Gabriela, now have to consolidate their remaining stolen assets. This brings us to part 5. The castle, the Sausage King, and the final target.
With the coffin missing, the Kings focus on the Van Goghs and the other high-value art. This art was initially stored in Antonio Tartoni's wine cellar in Milan. Tartoni's the fourth king, who Bench always refers to in emails as the cow's husband.
And Tartoni had some climate control fears.
He did. They were worried about humidity and mold damaging the priceless paintings. This concern, which is driven by just basic custodial needs, prompted them to move everything to a location they thought was more secure and stable. Castello Cariscalucci in Valgenico, Italy. The locals call it Castello Blanco.
And the owner of this castle
is Albert Scalucci Jr., the famous Milan Sausage King. He survived this horrific car crash in 1971 that killed his parents, and had lived as a recluse in this massive castle ever since, running a little sausage operation from the grounds.
And his fate is grim.
Very. Gabriela investigates. His last diary entry, which coincides exactly with the art being moved, details two men asking about his sausage operation. Albert Scalucci Jr. was murdered to secure the location. She finds his body in a commercial freezer in the cellar, just collateral damage, killed to get temporary storage for the art.
So Antonio Tartoni is now fully exposed as the fourth king. He's a Harvard grad, former manager for the Canton Lily Group, now an art gallery owner. A highly respectable cover for a deeply sinister operation.
And the confirmation of all this comes from the most unlikely and maybe most enjoyable source in the entire case file. Tartoni's drunk wife, Gloria.
Of course.
Gabriela tracks her down in Milan. They bond over martinis. Gloria shows off a Klemmer painting that the notes humorously describe as looking like a circumcised orange penis.
And lubricated by martinis, Gloria confirms the whole conspiracy.
The whole thing. She reveals that Antonio and 3 other morons started by kidnapping people as a prank in college, and they stored them in that very same wine cellar, the one they later used for the Van Goghs. She confirms Tartoni, Bench, Malsoud, and Teddy Searle are the Kings, and that they had to move the art because of those pesky climate control issues.
It's just definitive confirmation of their amateurism. I mean, they were brilliant enough to pull off a multi-billion-dollar heist, but they failed to get a dehumidifier for their illegal stash.
It's incredible. So, with the location of the art confirmed, Gabriela has to act fast, and she realizes the only way to get back Harley and the art is to align with the professional killer, Ahmed El Ghali.
An uneasy alliance.
Very. But they share a mutual interest in the golden coffin, and he provides the tactical support she needs. A fully armed team, Range Rovers, rifles, zip ties, flashbangs. This is essential because the Kings are now desperate and very dangerous.
Their target is Tartoni's luxurious mansion in Belgenico, where Rafer and another associate, Jocko, were being held. They'd been captured after breaking into the castle looking for the art.
Right. They get into the mansion, and Gabriela notes Tartoni's love for dramatic, cliched villain stuff. In his office, they find the classic trope, the bookcase.
The rotating bookcase.
It rotates via a hidden button on the desk, revealing a spiral staircase leading down to a hidden subterranean room.
And downstairs, they find Rafer and Jocko chained up, wounded but alive. And Rafer tells them that Tartoni, Bench, Masood, and Teddy just took off in a helicopter. Tartoni's emails confirm they were going to a meeting in Milan with a buyer, a man named Oleski.
And Oleski is not just some collector. He's described as a wealthy, highly dangerous black market collector who operates with extreme paranoia and has very high security requirements. The Kings were selling off the remaining art to him to try and recoup their losses after failing to get the coffin.
This sets up the grand finale, bringing us to part 6. Resolution, the price of failure, and the bizarre coffin.
Ahmed and Gabriela track the Kings to Oleski's warehouse in Milan, where the exchange is supposed to happen. They crash the meeting, and they find a truly horrific scene that just demonstrates how far out of their depth the Kings really were.
Bench, Searle, and Masood are bound and being tortured by Oleski's men. They're desperately trying to find out where the golden coffin is, and Antonio Tartoni is found in a pool of blood.
His hand has been severed, just cut off. A brutal, visceral punishment for failing to deliver the promised golden coffin.
This is the ultimate price of their amateurism. The Kings, for all their Harvard education and financial scheming, were just reduced to mutilated victims by a genuine psychopath who deals with failure very decisively.
The sight immediately breaks them, and in their panic, the remaining Kings reveal that Oleski, sensing a betrayal, had already moved the stolen art out of the warehouse before they even got there.
So Ahmed and Gabriela have to track Oleski again.
Right. This leads them to his lavish mansion in a wealthy enclave outside Milan, a place just absolutely filled with black market art. During the confrontation, a shootout ensues, Oleski's men are neutralized, and Oleski himself,
Who is standing over a stolen Cezanne.
fittingly dies of a massive heart attack during the chaos. All the stolen, insured art, the Van Goghs, everything else is now secured. The massive case is solved, except for one object.
The golden coffin. Ahmed, the professional, is waiting for his prize. He risked his life. He provided the firepower. He needs that coffin to fulfill his own obligations.
And Gabriela, who is certain the coffin isn't in the mansion and knows the Kings never had it, she realizes the ultimate irony has to be true. She pays one final casual visit to the newly widowed Gloria Tartoni in Milan. She senses that the absurdity of this case demanded an equally absurd conclusion.
And this is the unbelievable twist that ties this entire multi-billion-dollar operation together with the most mundane conclusion possible.
It is. Gloria, still blissfully unaware of what's really been going on, sipping her martinis, reveals that she had ordered an inlaid gold-lead coffee table base from a store in Cairo, and she used Masood Freight Forwarding for the transport.
Rocky Masood's company.
The very same. And Masood, in the process of switching the real coffin for the fake one after the flight from New York, made a shipment error, a clerical mistake. Instead of delivering the heavy gold-leaf table base that Gloria was expecting, they delivered the actual, genuine 241-pound golden coffin of King Tut's brother.
And Gloria, finding the massive golden object's base a little funky and a bit too large, converted it. She added a piece of tempered glass to the top.
And she transformed the priceless, historically significant golden sarcophagus into a decorative coffee table where she sets her martinis. She was planning to take it with her to Boston when she moved.
The irony is just, it's profound. A piece valued at nearly $500 million, stolen by a murderous conspiracy, was lost because of a clerical error, and then repurposed by an oblivious socialite for cocktail hour.
Ahmed arrives to claim the coffin. He runs his hand over the gold base, confirms its authenticity. His stake is fulfilled.
And the mop-up begins.
It does. Gabriela arranges for the recovery of all the remaining insured artifacts from Oleski's house. Bench, Searle, and Masood, the remaining Kings, mutilated but alive, are turned over to Italian law enforcement. And Harley is safe, released by Ahmed as promised.
And the final perfect piece of insight into our boyish banker.
Harley's laptop password was putbutter123.
Of course it was. We have to review the knowledge nuggets we got here because this case is just a masterclass in the intersection of amateur greed and professional investigation. The first nugget is just the truly amateur nature of the Kings. I mean, they were highly educated, connected, and brutal, but operationally they were so sloppy.
Their failure points were just astonishing, especially for guys with their background. They relied on easily trackable, cheap tech like AirTags. They failed to account for basic climate control, risking millions in art because of humidity. And they relied way too heavily on family networks, like Mausood freight forwarding, which allowed a competent investigator to trace the whole supply chain right back to the source.
The second, much darker nugget is that cold pattern of elimination. The Kings were willing to murder any disposable associate, Mackie, the IT guy, Dodi Kabi, the sausage king, just to protect the core operation. They executed professional killings, but they acted with the short-sighted cruelty of greedy children.
And that brings us back to Gabriela Rose's unique skill set. She doesn't just synthesize evidence from a desk. She blends this high-level deductive reasoning like translating BMEA 24 with just astonishing, hands-on, tactical proficiency.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the investigator who performs technical rappels into slime-filled wells, who picks high-security padlocks while quipping about her lip gloss, who executes a high-speed car chase with a massive slab of granite in the back.
And who, as the source notes confirmed later, shoots a surveillance drone out of the sky with an assault rifle in the Egyptian desert during the final transfer of the recovered items. She is the full, chaotic, professional package.
And finally, let's leave you with the ultimate provocative thought from this deep dive, which is just the incredible, humorous, and sometimes infuriating contrast between the priceless, historically significant value of these artifacts and the utterly bizarre methods of their storage, transit, and recovery.
You're talking about a 3/4 of a ton Rosetta Stone being smuggled through a noodle shop and driven around in an ancient truck, and a golden coffin that once held an Egyptian royal being repurposed as a coffee table for a socialite's martinis and probably her cats.
The absurdity of it all forces you to consider what other masterpieces of human history, unrecognized, maybe misplaced, or hidden away by petty spite or colossal incompetence, are currently serving some entirely mundane, totally unrecognized function right now?
Are there Van Goghs in someone's basement because of a forgotten divorce settlement? Is there a priceless relic out there acting as doorstop?
We'll leave you to ponder that thought as you go about your day. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.